This is Freshly Pressed with me, Zibby. We're looking at the stories making the headlines on the dailies across the country. I have the analyst with me, and I'll let you know how you can be part of the conversation. I know it's a holiday, but yes, you can still join the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we're streaming live as well up on our YouTube. The YouTube channel is Smooth981 FM Lagos. And yeah, that's how you can be a part of the conversation. Our analysts this morning, AB Bozimo and Joseph Obari. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning and happy
Baraka de Sala.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good morning to everybody. Muslims. Great to be here.
And
awesome. Happy congratulations to our Muslim brothers.
Thank you so much for that on behalf of our Muslim brothers and sisters. All right, let's start off with the Guardian. President-elect Bola Tinubu has unveiled a 13-member presidential inauguration committee to oversee the week-long activities leading to his swearing in and that of his deputy, Kashim Shettima. And this is going to happen on the 29th of May.
Well, I guess that's expected. He's not done anything. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this is not news. The news would have been that he did not set up his committee. So, well, everything seems to be on course. But what is interesting to me, which perhaps is not here in this story, is the fact that our security chiefs, the army in particular, yesterday had to address a press conference to assuage any anxieties about the possible threats to the transitional power between the outgoing administration and the incoming one. And the army chief specifically told us that several Nigerians who are being arrested, those who are moving guns, those who are plotting subversions and all that, and went on to assure Nigerians that even after the handover, the army is prepared to protect the democracy. It speaks volumes, and we've not got this whole story, I guess, because he didn't tell us everything, but what he said was enough. It suggests that there are threats or possible threats to the handover of power to the elected, the president-elect. So if that is so, it's cause for worry. That need to address concerns and to assure Nigerians speaks a lot about what could be happening behind the scene. And so everything that should be done to ensure that there is rule of law, there is maintenance of peace, and there is smooth transition of power to whosoever deserves to have it. And also the court processes and everything should go smoothly. That's what the least that Nigerians expect.
All right, Dami says, I always wait for a government body to tell us not to worry about an issue before I start to seriously worry about it. Okay, let's move on to the next story. And this one comes from Vanguard. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, has indicated readiness to appear before the House of Reps ad hoc committee investigating the alleged loss of over $2.4 billion of unremitted oil revenue. Now, this revenue is from the illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil exports from 2014 up till date. AB? All right, the WhatsApp number is 0809. Yes, AB, we can hear you now. We didn't hear you for a few seconds, but yes, we can hear you.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. So a few days ago, there was supposed to be a hearing where the Attorney General and the Minister of Finance, among other people, were supposed to come and
All right. It does appear like there might be some connectivity problems. Joseph, can you hear me loudly and clearly, please?
Yeah, I can. I can.
Okay.
I think this very incident of reluctance on the part of the ministers, the Minister of Justice and the Finance Minister to appear before the committee raised a lot of questions. Yeah, just like we said in the other case where the Abbey chief is reassuring Nigerians that they would do everything to ensure everything's correct. Here, the Attorney General is saying, oh, well, I'm going to appear, I'm going to respect the separation of powers, I will appear before. It is not rhetoric. I mean, you don't just keep saying, "Oh, going to appear." Just go and answer questions. And this whole thing is about they're investigating a sale of 2.4 billion, what 2.4 billion naira dollars. I mean, of sales done. This was consignments of stolen crude that were sold and that were seized. And the government now it's managed by the Attorney General, and then it is sold. And the concern is that this money was not remitted into the government, the purse where the whole money goes normally. So there is a whole lot of question. Why would we sell such things and it will not go into where it's supposed to be? AB is back. AB want to continue.
AB, you're muted.
You're muted, AB.
Okay, now I was disconnected for whatever reason. Quickly, to save time, the Attorney General was invited. He was supposed to appear. He didn't. I'm happy to hear that he's preparing to appear. I think he could have done better communication with the authorities, because when the National Assembly invites you, you ought to show up. I think that's the minimum a public servant is expected to do when invited by the top lawmaking body of the country. Sorry about the delay or the disconnect.
All right, let's move on to Daily Trust. The NDE, the National Directorate for Employment, has commenced on the data collection of unemployed youth across 23 local government areas of Kaduna State. Now, the directorate has emphasized the importance, calling for citizens to cooperate with officers assigned to collate this data.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, these are just routine stuff. I mean, you register people. It is they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. It is how these programs that are meant to cushion, to be social support for the people actually are implemented. We've had Sure P, we've had this, we have had that, we have had that. How much impact have they made? That's a question. How much impact are these things that government doing helping people? NDE is running programs. Festus Kayamo came on the other day to boast of how much the NDE is contributing to reducing unemployment in the country. And the figures were so paltry. You're talking about 2,000 jobs added and here and there. In an economy where you have up to, double-digit unemployment figures, I think a lot more has to be done to address unemployment. And actually, where the government is failing is in creating the enabling environment for those who can actually create jobs to do so. Those who can create jobs in agriculture, in manufacturing, in this and that and that. It is not government that really gives jobs to people. How much job can government give to people? So yes, it's good on the surface. Yeah, the NDA is trying, is doing whatever they can. They are registering unemployed people. This whole thing really doesn't solve the problem. Solving the problem means creating the enabling environment for companies, for organizations. I mean, a project like the Dangote refinery, for example, you know the number of persons that can take it. When you have multiplication of such projects of such magnitude, then you find that these unemployed people are absorbed. These are actually tokenish efforts. The figures that Kayamo boasted about just indicate that they are paltry. They don't really add so much, make so much significance in solving the problem of unemployment. And that's the honest truth.
All right, so this is Freshly Pressed and would love to get your thoughts with regards to the conversation ongoing. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 You can also tweet at Smooth981. We're streaming live on YouTube. All you need to do is just search for Smooth981 and you can catch the live stream and post a comment as well. From The Guardian, financiers of the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano pipeline have pulled out of the project, citing alleged 570% inflated contract sum, far above global thresholds. Now, the companies Infrastructure and Commercial Bank of China, Infrastructure Bank of China, and China Export Credit Agency were to provide 85% or about $2.38 billion funding requirements. And the Nigerian counterparts, Oilserve and Owando, are to provide the balance of 15% or about $420 million.
This is a story full of numbers, but two sentences are highly significant for me. One or two phrases, far above global thresholds. And later in the story, they say these companies would have problems when they go into agreement with Nigerians, when they have to submit their financial reports in their countries of origins. I'll tell you about the numbers. By any comparison, people did benchmarking against other similar gas line projects. When you hear about 570% alleged contract inflation, you have to realize the opportunities that are lost. It means that if these contracts were more in alignment with global standards, would have done so much more in terms of infrastructure development. But somehow around here, our railways cost 15 times what other people's cost, allegedly. Our gas is costing 6 times what other people's are costing. And this goes for literally everything else we do. I've used the benchmark before of the cost of the world's tallest building being a paltry $1.5 billion. I've said that we have paid $1.5 billion multiple times in terms of fuel subsidy. Compare the value that was achieved in Dubai with $1.5 billion to what waste we have been experiencing here. And even then, do you know that we don't know exactly how much fuel we're consuming? The figures range too widely. We have a problem with accounting and accountability, and it has not gotten any better over the past few years. Why would foreign people not pull out? They are willing and able to do business, but they are saying, in terms of global reputation, we do not seem to be a good place with whom to do business because too many people projects. Gas could be very valuable to develop Nigeria's industrial sector and our electricity sector especially. But because of greed on some people's part, you see, what people forget, you cannot export Nigerian anyhowness. People have international benchmarks that they can measure you against. You can do that kind of nonsense within your environment, but outside, they can see very easily when you are actually being ridiculous. And they have the right and they reserve it. And in the case they have pulled out, I think it's a national disgrace that on something as simply measurable as the cost of a project, foreign would-be investors say, nah, that is not a place I think is worth doing. Don't forget, businesses are there to make profit. So a great thing like a gas pipeline will give them multiple years of income and profit. But even they say, I can't take these numbers home. I'll be laughed off the stock market in my country. I'll be indicted for corruption. That how can the project that we did in my village cost 1 naira and in our village at home is costing 6 naira. That is exactly how it sounds. Preposterous. So we really need to take a national look at ourselves and ask ourselves whether we want to continue being a worldwide laughing stock in terms of corruption in projects.
All right, let's go on to some messages coming through. Cisco Delgado says, unemployment is easy to tackle. Let the federal government provide enabling environments. Steady electricity and unemployment rates will be drastically reduced. Joseph says, NDE is not an employment scheme. It's more of a training program that is in a 3-year duration in different professions. I'm a product of the program between 1996 and 1999. Only the trainers are paid while trainees aren't given a dime. So it's not very clear. May God help Nigeria. And Ajayi says, it's heartwarming to know that the peaceful handover to the incoming administration is on course. I hope the new government will prefer better solutions to all our problems. Let's take a break and we'll continue the conversation in just a few clicks. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us. Okay, we'll be back on shortly.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know why my system just rebooted literally. So I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, this happens. This technology things.
Technology. Meanwhile, we are doing gas. We're trying to do gas products 6 times the cost, 570%. Ordinary internet we cannot provide. We know the shame.
Yeah, the sad thing is that it's the ripple effect of all these things.
Yes.
Just like you were saying.
Imagine the employment that will come with such a project.
I know this those who are involved in it, they don't care. They don't think once their interest, they think only about their interests. That's all.
Narrow, selfish interests.
You remember the trial of IGP and ENN officials in Italy over the Itete and all the story. I mean,
yes.
Because countries, when I was in the oil industry, one of the things we always guard against was the interpretation by the home country of what you're doing.
Honestly, so even the implications.
Ordinarily should go. You say no. They say don't. We can't host. We can't put NNPC workers in the hotel. And NNPC workers hated Shell for it because why wouldn't you put her in the hotel? And you're sent on assignment, you're giving money to stay spend and all that. You also want to take from someone. Those things don't happen as well.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Our analysts this morning, AB and Joseph, are live, and we're looking at these stories making the headlines across the country. As always, you can be a part of it. 0809 444 0981. From this day, all right, you know what? Let's go on to Vanguard, and then we'll come to this day. From Vanguard, the number of electricity consumers without meters and under the very much criticized estimated billing has increased by 190,000, and the percentage is about 3.34%. And that number increased from about 5.74 million in 2021.
Now, they talk about, okay, if you want to go, you can.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, the number of consumers without meters is increased and all that. And these costs have actually done a lot of disservice to the oil, for the electricity sector in this country. And the truth is that they have not really performed to the expectation of Nigerians after the unbundling of NEPA. Or power holding, or whatever name it was called. Once government withdrew, our expectation was that those who are coming into this sector would improve on the services. First of all, to get meters is mystified. I don't know about where you live, but most places, if you want to get the meter, at one point, even when it was supposed to be free, you could not get it. And so this court cannot turn around and complain that people don't have meters, because even those who have meters are subjected to all kinds of treatments. One of the easiest things they do is to look at ways they can criminalize you. I mean, if you have meters faulty, they say you have tampered with it. They don't just take the meter and fix it or replace it. Even the process, and they put you through a whole lot. You pay so much money. You could pay up to 300,000 to have your meter restored and reconnected. So all those things discourage people. So when those who are even using the meter, one are having challenges using it, getting the meter itself is difficult, then of course, what do you expect? People would just not be attracted to want to be metered. So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done with disco. Discos have not served this country well. And then they talk about dropping their revenue. You can't get revenue when you're not supplying power, for goodness sake. Well, I don't know where you're living, but I think that people get less than 60% power in this country. So if you are paying, and that's one of the things now, because even judging by what used to happen, the prepaid meter also has shown that you pay exactly what you consume. So since they are not supplying enough electricity, and they are not even encouraging those who should, of course, naturally, you can't get revenue. You can't get revenue. You are not supplying what you're selling, and you expect to make money. How? It's not magic. It is not magic. It doesn't happen like that. So that actually is the hidden story, is that these schools are not performing well. They have not been sincere. They have not treated their customers well. So they shouldn't expect anything better than what they are getting.
It's a simple paradigm shift. If I had anything to say to a disco, they have to stop thinking that right now they're in charge and they're trying to persecute customers. I say that because, just like Joseph said, right now there is no sense of service. If I were a discos, I'd be in the business of selling irons, boiling rings, and hair straighteners to make you consume power so that I can bill you. But right now, they come, they are relatively rude, they threaten to disconnect, and people are slowly moving towards sustainable systems, because the dream of an average Nigerian is to disconnect from the disco, and that should not be the case. Let's remember there was once a company called Nitel, maybe they still exist. Many years ago, I walked into the Nitel office and asked for a telephone, and the man literally laughed himself off the chair, asking me whether I saw the queue of people outside waiting for a phone. Today, they beg me to take a SIM. Power is not exactly the same, but people are going to create alternatives. You cannot, like Joseph said, expect revenue to increase when you're not giving not just power, but service. It is service we need. Power is the means by which you give me service. You cannot be a threat to my life. You cannot always come with your ladder and threaten me. And when my meter is spoiled, it becomes inaccessible and expect revenues to grow. It's not possible.
From this day, poultry farmers are appealing to the federal government and the CBN to save their businesses from collapse. Now, they've complained about the Naira redesign policy and how it brought some untold hardship on them and their investments across the country, particularly in the Southwest.
The true story about the economic disaster that occurred during that ill-executed currency change has not yet been told. It's going to be told for some years and some generations to come. But indeed, the poultry farmers are only one of a set of people who need help. The problem here is that I have to say, the capacity and ability as demonstrated by this administration to actually address the problems of individuals and groups has not been very good. So while the appeal is coming from a place of desperation and the need for help, I don't know whom they're actually appealing to, who will actually listen to them. And whatever lessons will be learned can be applied to other sectors. Disaster that was this currency change policy. I have a question for anyone listening. Have you been seeing the new notes since that case was determined in the Supreme Court?
That's the question I'm asking. Where is
No.
the money?
We are in April. We hear that there's a deadline in December. I would have thought that by now, 30% of the notes I transact with are new. By June, 50%. By, say, September, October, 75%, so that by December it's changed. All I'm seeing now are old notes. And some of them
Not
so
only
disgusting. They can get COVID by looking at them. So what is happening with the government? Now, is it the same set of people you want to appeal to rescue you from your failing poultry business? That's just the question I'm asking. It's a great request. Many other sectors should come together and make the same request, but to whom? That's my question.
All right, final story.
I have a comment. I have a comment on that, and that's calls for urgency for intervention. The implication for this egg glut in the economy is on the health of the children, because eggs are about the easiest source of protein, and the children depend on that. If boil an egg give to a child, it helps the development of that child. When parents are unable to buy just eggs, what it means is that you are not feeding the children well. And that goes a long way to tell on their growth, on their performance and everything. And it's a national issue. And if these politicians are sincere, these are the things that should attract their attention, not whether doctors are leaving Nigeria and you want to legislate on it.
Now, with regards to this egg glut, some have said, well, if people can't afford to buy eggs at the prices that are being offered, how about rather than have an all-out waste, perhaps some of the prices could be reduced, so perhaps more people could afford them?
It's an argument, but a business person wants to make profit.
Absolutely. That's the whole point of going to business. Just like those people who are pulling out of Nigeria because of the 70% increase in cost, they are in the business to make profit, not to sell at a loss. So if you want to sell them, then subsidize convoys of government officials with 50 cars per trip. That's a waste of subsidy.
All right, let's go on to the messages we have coming through. Pastor Dapo says, waste and wastage is a negative fault which majority of Nigerians are guilty of. It emanates from greed and the desire to satisfy unnecessary wants. Keep an objective check on our itchy fingers. Keeping an objective check on our itchy fingers will be a good idea. Emeka says, it took me almost an arm and a leg before I got my prepaid meter last year, and I can tell you it was worth it. From about 27,000 naira a month, my bill was now reduced to about 13,000 naira per month. Cisco says, I have not seen any new naira notes, and solar power is the ultimate now. Discos are making getting prepaid meters very difficult, and getting it is almost impossible due to the fraudulent and lack of transparency in the sector. Let's see. Okay, let's go on to the next message. This one is from Dan Okuda. He says, the loss suffered by Nigerians during the ill-fated Naira redesign policy was monumental. It's cut across all sectors. And going to take one final message because we're out of time. Ajayi says, the discos are not only performing below expectations, they have actually become fraudulent in their operations. I've just applied for an additional meter for my house, and after paying for the meter, they charged me about 140,000 naira estimated bill for the period I applied for the meter, and when it was installed, which is less than 1 month. Wow.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it's going on everywhere.
Wow. That's why I say there's no service. There's no service.
No.
Look,
none at all.
In other climes that we try to be like, just by moving into a house, somebody is already there trying to encourage you to take their meter. Here you are begging for a meter with the money you are trying to pay them. The paradigm has to shift. It's ridiculous.
Well, that is all the time that we have this morning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your messages. And of course, special thanks to my analyst.
Thank you. The pleasure and privilege.
Thank you. I wish everybody enjoy the holidays and have a happy weekend.
Yeah. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day ahead. That is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, AB.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.